Brigham Young is a prominent historical figure and a featured antagonist in Netflix's epic period western series American Primeval. American Primeval is a new major western streaming series that was released on Netflix on January 9, 2025. The series takes place on the frontier of the American West in 1857, particularly in the somewhat lawless terrain of Utah. The grim, violent, chaotic, and unforgiving American Primeval shows early American settlers, cultists, and indigenous tribes as murderers and survivors in a series of gruesome fights for control of the newly found territory. American Primeval alters several real-life historical details and figures. American Primeval was written by Mark L. Smith, who co-wrote the screenplay for The Revenant with Alejandro G. Inarritu. In fact, there are many stylistic similarities between The Revenant and American Primeval in both narrative and visual techniques. Peter Berg, Friday Night Lights, Lone Survivor, directs all 6 episodes of American Primeval. Taylor Kitsch leads an ensemble cast, which features Betty Gilpin, Dane DeHaan, Sora Lightfoot-Leon, Shay Wyham, Lucas Neff, and Kim Coates. By the end of American Primeval, Brigham Young successfully purchases Fort Bridger and sets it ablaze to keep U.S. troops out of Utah territory. How Brigham Young became president of the Church of Latter-day Saints. He initially joined the Latter-day Saints in 1832. Brigham Young joined the Church of the Latter-day Saints, originally called the Church of Christ, in April 1832. Born in Whitingham, Vermont, Young relocated to New York at a young age with his father. He had a strict Puritanesque upbringing and first encountered the Church of Christ in Mendon, New York through early LDS member Heber C. Kimball. Young was introduced to the Book of Mormon sometime in 1830. 5 missionaries traveled to Mendon from Pennsylvania to spread Mormonism in the early 1830s. This led Young to meet Joseph Smith, the founder of the Church of Christ, in 1832, joining the Latter-day Saints soon after, via history. Young was named a member of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles in February 1835. He was sent to remote areas of Pennsylvania and New York to spread Mormonism to indigenous peoples. After a few years on the East Coast, Young moved to Missouri, where he became the oldest member of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles. Joseph Smith named him and Thomas Marsh as temporary president of the LDS in Missouri in October 1838. Young spearheaded the migration of the Latter-day Saints to Illinois in 1838. He would become involved in the community of Nauvoo, Illinois in the early 1840s. Young endorsed Smith's presidential campaign in 1844 before he was killed by an armed mob. Young took over Smith's responsibilities as the LDS president. Brigham Young founded Salt Lake City. Salt Lake City was founded on July 24, 1847. American Primeval Season 1-7. Image via Netflix. Young was officially selected as the president of the Latter-day Saints in 1848. After repeated conflicts in Nauvoo, Young led the LDS Church to the Salt Lake Valley in 1847, which at the time was Mexican territory. According to history, with the United States in control of the Great Salt Lake Valley region after the Mexican-American War, Young was appointed governor of the new Utah Territory in 1850. He governed the territory as a theocracy, with church doctrines taking precedence over laws. By this time, Young had earned nicknames such as nicknames like Lion of the Lord and American Moses. Salt Lake City was officially founded on July 24, 1847, which is regarded as Pioneer Day in Utah. Young is credited with naming the city of the Great Salt Lake and began organizing the main area of the city into blocks. Later in 1847, Young became officially acknowledged as the second president of the Latter-day Saints after Joseph Smith. Young led several trips to and from Salt Lake City to assist people moving to the area. He was officially instated as Utah's first governor in February 1851 by U.S. President Millard Fillmore. Young and his congregation established several settlements and eventually made peace with indigenous peoples, via Utah history. Brigham Young's role in the Utah War. He led the charge against incoming U.S. troops. American Primeval Season 1-28. Image via Netflix. Brigham Young was an internal figure in the Utah War since he represented the interests of the members of the Latter-day Saints. Many of the realistic aspects of American Primeval were centered around the Utah War, which took place between May 1857 and July 1858. Peter Berg revealed to Netflix that the inspiration for the series arose after the director read an article about the Utah War. I read an article on something called the Mountain Meadows Massacre. It was something that interested me, and I started doing a lot of research on it. The Utah War was primarily an armed conflict between Mormon settlers and United States military troops.